Potters. It's Miss Winter here. We are going to continue on with our read aloud right now. And I don't know about you, but I'm very curious about what's going to happen in this chapter that we're in. So I'm anxious to get going to see how the chapter will end. So we are reading the City of Ember, and we are currently in chapter 4. And as you'll recall, we read some of it yesterday. And when we ended, this guy, let's look and see if we see his name. And I don't think we did. There was a man that was kind of stumbling around, and Lena was at the greenhouses with Clary. And as this man came in, Clary kind of told Lena to get going, to get out of there. Um, but she does not leave as of yet. So let's continue on. Clary helped him to his feet. The two of them came slowly toward the greenhouse, and as they got closer, Lena could hear what the man was saying. He spoke very fast in a weak, trembly voice, hardly stopping for breath. Was sure I could do it. I said to myself, just one step after another, that's all, one step after another. I knew it would be dark. Who doesn't know that? But I thought, well, dark can't hurt you. I'll just keep going. I thought. He stumbled and sagged against Clary. Careful, Clary said. They reached the door of the greenhouse, and Clary struggled to open it. Without thinking, Lena darted out from behind the tool shed and opened it for her. Clary shot her a quick frown, but said nothing. Sadge didn't stop talking. But then the farther I went, the darker it was, and you can't just keep walking into black dark, can you? It's like a wall in front of you. I kept turning around to see or to look at the lights of the city, because that's all there was to see, and then I'd say to myself, don't look back, keep moving. But I kept tripping and falling. The ground is rough out there. I scraped my hands. He held up one hand and stared at the red scratches on it, which oozed drops of blood. They got him into Clary's office and sat him down in her chair. He rambled on. Be brave, I said to myself. I kept going and going, but then all of a sudden I thought, anything could be out here. There could be a pit 1,000 feet deep right in front of me. There could be something that bites. I've heard stories. Rats as big as garbage bins. And I had to get out of there, so I turned around and I ran. Never mind, said Clary. You're all right now. Lena, get him some water. Lena found a cup and filled it from the sink in the corner. Sadge took it with a shaking hand and drank it down. What were you looking for? Lena asked. She knew what she would have been looking for if she'd gone out there. She'd thought about it countless times. Sadge stared at her. He seemed to have to puzzle over her question. Finally he said, I was looking for something that could help us. What would it be? I don't know. Like a stairway that leads somewhere, maybe? Or a building full of, I don't know, useful things. But you didn't find anything? Or see anything? Lena asked, disappointed. Nothing! Nothing! There is nothing out there! His voice became a shout and his eyes looked wild again. Or if there is, we can never get to it. Never! Not without a light. He took a long, shaky breath. For a while he stared at the floor. Then he stood up. I think I'm all right now. I'll be going. With uncertain steps, he went down the path and out the door. Well, said Clary, I'm sorry that happened while you were here. I was afraid you might be scared. That's why I told you to go. But Lena was full of questions, not fear. She had heard tales of people who tried to go out into the unknown regions. She had thought about it herself. In fact, she'd wondered the same things as Sadge. She had imagined making her way out into the dark and coming to a wall in which she would find the door to a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel would be the other city, the city of light that she had dreamed about. All it would take was the courage to walk away from Ember and into the darkness, and then to keep going. It might have been possible if you could carry a light to show the way, but in Ember there was no such thing as a light you could carry with you. Outside lights were fixed to their poles or to the roofs of houses. Inside lights were set into the ceiling or had cords that had to be plugged in. Over the course of Ember's history, various clever people had tried to invent a movable light, but all of them had failed. One man had managed to ignite the end of a stick of wood by holding it against the electric burner on his stove. He'd run across the city with a flaming stick, planning to use it to light his journey. But by the time he got to the trash heaps, his torch had gone out. Other people latched on to his idea. One woman who lived on Deadlock Street, very near the edge of the city, managed to get into the unknown regions with her flaming stick. But the stick burned quickly, and before she could go far, the flame singed her hands and she threw it down. Everyone who had tried to penetrate the unknown regions had come back within a few hours, their enterprise a failure. Lena and Clary stood by the open door of the greenhouse and watched Sadge shuffle toward the city. As he neared the trash heaps, two guards who had been sitting on the ground got to their feet. They walked over to Sadge, and each of them took hold of one of his arms. "Uh-oh," said Clary. "Those guards are always looking for trouble." "But Sadge hasn't broken any law," said Lena. "Doesn't matter. They need something to do. They'll get some fun out of scaring him." One of the guards was shaking his finger at Sadge and saying something in a voice almost loud enough for Lena to hear. "Poor man," said Clary with a sigh. "He's the fourth one this year." The guards were marching Sadge away now, one on either side of him. Sadge looked limp and small between them. "What do you think is out in the unknown regions, Clary?" Clary stared down at the ground, where the light from the greenhouse was casting long, thin shadows of them both. "I don't know. Nothing, I guess." "And do you think Ember is the only light in the dark world?" Clary sighed. "I don't know," she said. She gave Lena a long look. Her eyes, Lena thought, looked a little sad. They were a deep brown, almost the color of the earth in the garden bed. Clary put a hand in her pocket and drew something out. "Look," she said. In the palm of her hand was a white bean. "Something in this seed knows how to make a bean plant." "How does it know that?" "I don't know," said Lena, staring at the hard, flat bean. "It knows because it has life in it," said Clary. "But where does life come from? What is life?" Lena could see that words were welling up in Clary now. Her eyes were bright, her cheeks were rosy. "Take a lamp, for instance. When you plug it in, it comes alive in a way. It lights up. That's because it's connected to a wire that's connected to the generator, which is making electricity, though don't ask me how. But a bean seed isn't connected to anything. Neither are people. We don't have plugs and wires that connect us to generators. What makes living things go is oop, inside them somehow." Her dark eyebrows drew together over her eyes. "What I mean is," she said finally, "something is going on that we don't understand. They say the builders made the city, but who made the builders? Who made us? I think the answer must be somewhere outside of Ember. In the unknown regions? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. She brushed her hands together in a time to get back to work way. Clary, said Lena quickly, here's what I think. Her heart sped up. She hadn't told this to anyone before. In my mind, I see another city. Lena watched to see if Clary was going to laugh at her, or smile in that overly kind way. She didn't, so Lena went on. It isn't like Ember. It's white and gleaming. The buildings are tall and sort of sparkle. Everything is bright, not just inside the buildings, but all around them too, even up in the sky. I know it's just my imagination, but it feels real. I think it is real. Clary said, hmm. And then she said, where would such a city be? That's what I don't know, or how to get to it. I keep thinking there's a door somewhere, maybe out in the unknown regions, a door that leads out of Ember, and then behind the door a road. Clary just shrugged her shoulders. I don't know, she said. I have to get back to work. But here, take this. She handed Lena the bean seed, took a little pot from a shelf, scooped some dirt into it, and handed the pot to Lena too. Stick the bean in here and water it every day, she said. It looks like nothing, like a little white stone, but inside it there's life. That must be a sort of clue, don't you think? If we could just figure it out. Lena took the seed and the pot. Thank you, she said. She wanted to give Clary a hug, but didn't, in case it would embarrass her. Instead, she just said goodbye and raced back toward the city. All right, Otters, that is where we will end for today. Make sure to jump back into Canvas to answer the discussion questions completely, and we will read again tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.